So hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about how to manage your life whilst doing a PhD. I completed my PhD last year and I must say that that period of time was the most busiest, most hectic and most demanding in my life. At that time, I was teaching, I was running a business, and I was doing my PhD full-time as well. I know that there are many students that are in this position of doing your PhD, but you're also doing other things on the side, or you might be in a situation of doing your PhD, but feeling a bit overwhelmed with all of the work and how to manage your days and how to really get into a flow. And I wanted to address that. Now, if you're doing a PhD full-time, you would know that it doesn't have the structure of, let's say, an undergraduate where you have a schedule for your classes and you can get into an easy routine. Most times there are no compulsory classes. I only had compulsory classes in my first year, and that was a year that was devoted to research methods, and that's how King's at the time structured my program. It might be the same for you or it might be a little different, but I'm saying this to say that most times the PhD program tends to be very open. You get to determine how you spend your days and what you're doing to give structure to your days. And it doesn't really have that type of structure that you would normally see in an undergrad or maybe even in a master's. So for some of you, you might be struggling with, what should my days look like in a PhD? But one of the things I was really grateful for was having time management skills in my previous role as an attorney. Knowing how to prioritize my tasks and to really structure my days helped me significantly, because this is not something that they teach you in university. They kind of expect you to know how to manage research and how to do things on your own. So one thing that really worked for me, which might probably work for you as well too, really have to treat your PhD like it is a job. And that helped me big time. It wasn't play. I looked at my PhD as literally a 9 to 5 and I treated it in that way. So on a Monday morning, I would get up and by 9 a.m. I would be in the office, and I would usually leave the office probably at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. It depended on how much research at the time that I was doing. But I would suggest kind of creating that structure for you so that at least you know what to expect on each day and you know how to plan your days. The second thing that really worked as well for me too was getting advice from my supervisors on what my day should look like. Now, of course, you are new to the field and you might be very new to research. So if you're unsure of what a researcher's day should look like, I think a great way to know is to ask your supervisor what is expected from you on a day-to-day, what you should be doing. And that really helped me. I met with my supervisors tri-weekly. So what happened is, because I knew that I would meet with them every 3 weeks, I had to have deliverables every 3 weeks. So in that interim period, I was working on my deliverables basically. And I think that's super important. If you don't know what you're working towards, it becomes very difficult to structure your days. So have a conversation with your supervisor, get clear on this, and then you can create a little bit more structure in your days so you know what you're working towards. The third tip that I'd like to share with you is having support and accountability within your PhD community if possible. If you haven't made friends as yet, I would really encourage you to start to connect with your PhD colleagues and really get to understand what they are researching and what their journey is like and what has been some of the difficulties, and also how have they been managing their days and their time. For me, one of the biggest aspects of community was the accountability bit. Because you're on this journey alone, it can feel very isolating. And as I said, you're going to meet your supervisors maybe once a month or twice a month, and the rest of that you're on your own. But with your friends, with your colleagues, that level of accountability, they can always check in on you. What are you working on this week? Or, what do you have going on? I think that helps with fostering structure in your days. So what worked for me is actually having lunch dates with my colleagues sometimes, and we just talk about where are we with our PhD and what has been helping us and what are our challenges, and even discussing, areas of research or areas of theory that are a little bit blurry to us. Bringing in that new perspective was really helpful to know that, okay, you're on the right track and maybe you need to spend a bit more time in one aspect of your research rather than another. So accountability is key and community is key in managing your days. You really can't do this alone. And as I said, the PhD is such an isolating journey. So the more support that you can find, the better. If you don't have relationships in your PhD community, I would suggest that you look at whether there is virtual communities that you can be a part of. I remembered when I was writing up my PhD in COVID, that time the university offered virtual writing retreats where, you can go into a room, meet another set of researchers, and all of you all are working on your PhD. And I found that that was really helpful, especially in a time where I couldn't go into the office and meet people. Get in contact with your doctoral support administration. If it is you're realizing that, okay, I need some support, I need more community, get in touch with them and ask them what are their resources, what are their support networks that they have that you can join. A lot of research communities have that in place, and I think researchers, we need to ask for what we need to support our journey, because it is not easy, but we have to tap into the resources that are available. The next tip that I have for you, and this is really for persons who are doing the PhD and maybe you're running your own business, or you're doing something part-time, or you're hustling, you're just trying to do something on the side of your PhD. This is pretty difficult to do. I did it. At the time of doing my PhD, I did part-time work, and then I was also building a business. So, my time was really thin. It is possible, but what I will say is, to get this done and to get this done efficiently, you really need to dedicate certain days for certain things. Don't try to do your PhD and do your business on the same day. You're not going to get much done. And the reason why I say that is, to do academic work, you have to be intellectually present, and it requires a lot of brain work, right? And a lot of stillness, sometimes even silence. To do work, let's say with your business, it's a different kind of approach that you're taking. So what I found is, the days when I do my PhD, I could not manage my business. It was almost like trying to do two very different things and feeling like at the end of the day, I was highly unproductive. So what I did is, on certain days I would do my PhD, and then on certain days I would strictly do my business. So for example, on Saturdays and Mondays, I would do my business Alpha Suit, and then the rest of my days was dedicated to my PhD. I would not even touch anything related to my business unless it was like at the end of the day or something like that. But I say this because a lot of us, sometimes we think we can multitask, we think we can do all of these different things at once, and academia is not that. It is a very demanding mistress, as we say in the academic world, and it really requires you to be present with the work that you're doing. And the final tip that I have for you is to have some organization to your documents, to your papers, to your files in your laptop. You need to have some order. Yes, I know a lot of PhD students, your entire desktop is just files. Like, we can't even see the wallpaper because all we're seeing is files. I know that I was guilty of it. And again, it's something that I really would love for people to avoid, because when you need the information, you need the data, you don't have time to be sifting through so many different papers and that sort of thing. So I think file management is really important. What I did is I had various folders. So I would have a folder for methodology, and it will just be methodology papers in there, and I would use like post-its or file tabs to know what the paper was about. And I would have another folder for literature review or for background information. Another thing that I did that was really helpful was ensuring that the way that I save my information and my papers on my laptop, it was all related to the author. So yes, you could do this in terms of theme, but I think in research, we all know that scholars, knowing them by name is very important rather than knowing them by theme. So I think that if you're saving scholarly work, saving it based on the author is very, very helpful. When it comes to my references from early on, I used Zotero as well as RefWorks. That helped significantly with my references when I was completing my PhD. So you don't want to have papers all over the place. You don't want your file management to be, in disarray, because if it is in disarray, you are going to start to feel like you are in disarray as well. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel like there's just so much information and you don't know how to sift through it. And I realized that sometimes when I didn't do this, there are papers that I was rereading 2, 3, 4 times, and it's because I didn't realize that, oh, I read this paper already, right? Yes, this happens in your PhD because you're reading so much papers. So even when you're reading papers, making sure that you make cogent notes, having a sticky note, or maybe even underlining to let you know, okay, I've already covered this paper. So file management is key to having a bit of organization to your days. So beautiful people, I do hope that this short video was useful. I really had to reflect on my own experience and what I did to ensure that I was working effectively, and I wanted to share that with you and to let you know that it is a work in progress. The more that you get into this type of style and creating structure for your PhD journey, and the earlier you do it, the better. I feel like your 3rd and your 4th year, especially when you're going into your write-up, you really want to have a system that works. Play around, experiment with it, but most importantly, don't give up on the journey and structure your days. All right. So I look forward to seeing you in another video. Good luck, my PhD candidates. You got this. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.